What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning back into another video. Quarantine day, I don't know what, but I haven't been to the barbershop in a while. Regardless, we're here in the garage right now and we are working on the Project RSX, our stance build. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the channel, this is just a base model RSX that we got just to kind of be a clean daily driver. Over here we have our front wheel drive turbo Integra, which is in the works of getting the engine bay done, all shaved and painted up in the next couple days. And under the tarp we have our street car, the all-wheel drive Honda CRX B Series Turbo. And this video is going to be specifically on this one right here. Now, we are primarily a racing and Honda channel to begin with, but this is going to basically apply to whatever car you're working at home. I'm kind of going to do like a 3 or 4 part series on cheap paint jobs. If you guys are subscribed and you've seen the last videos, you know that we're getting really good paint onto this Integra engine bay. We did a whole bunch of shaving, and we actually have some Tamco paint that's going to go down. So a really nice color that's you guys will see in the next couple of videos. But that's going to be like a show car type paint job. Vince, the guy that's doing the paint job, a buddy of mine, he does spectacular work and he's really good at making that kind of stuff pop. For this, since it is a daily driver, it's a base model, we're not very worried about how it's going to look in the end product in the sense of like a high impact drag style clear coat like we have on that. This is just going to be a daily driver that's going to be, you know, cheap, simple, and nothing special. So for that being said, we are going to be doing a cheap paint job on this. We're probably going to go to Econo or Maaco, and I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of the process that I do before taking the car over there. I have taken my old RSX, the one that I sold last year, or the year before, I don't remember actually. We took it to Econo in Daytona, which is like 30-40 minutes away, and I didn't do any other prep work. They did everything, which is basically almost nothing since they don't really prep much. But for this one, we're actually going one step ahead and sanding the whole car. Right here you can see there were some high spots and then like some deep spots that we sanded out, made it smooth and even with the rest. Basically with some 400 grit, and on some more aggressive spots we did 180. And although it looks like there's some areas that aren't going to match, when you put your hand over it and you block it with a sandpaper blocker, which is basically a flat piece of rubber that you can attach your sandpaper on and then sand with that, you get all the high and low spots nice and even. As for the rest of the car, we did do some body work. For example, over here where you see some built up primer all around right there and right there, some right there. There were some dents that we filled in with a little bit of body filler, some Bondo. And I don't have any videos on that, but there are a ton of videos on YouTube. You can figure out how to do that at home, very simple. We ended up spray painting some primer after, since Bondo is porous and it absorbs moisture, or it can absorb other things while it's waiting to be painted. We wanted to seal it in. That being said, we are sanding everything down right now with some 400 grit, the whole car. That way it's going to be nice and ready for paint. And in that process, we went ahead and sanded some of the primer, not all of it, but we sanded it down to a nice smooth finish with the blocker. For the mirrors, which are plastic mirrors, we sanded it down with some 400 as well. And you can see right here where you actually get the raw plastic. It was because there was a lot of cracking like there is right there from the sun on the paint. And it was really textury. Now, I haven't sanded and painted myself something like this before, but I'm guessing from just how it feels and whatnot, it feels really smooth on all these areas. I feel like the paint is going to lay over pretty nice, and it helped out a lot. Let me show you on the other side for comparison. This is how it looked basically before, and your hand can really get all the texture and whatnot, especially on areas like this. You can see all the sun cracked paint, and I'm not sure if it's focusing right there, but it was really rough shape. Now, we haven't sanded any of this side, and the previous owner, you can see that there's side skirts that are red and half of the roof is still red. The previous owner actually painted the car in some spots red, as well as the bumper, which is actually in the backyard right now. They painted the bumper red as well. Really weird, but we're slowly sanding everything away with some 80 grit, because it is a whole nother coat of paint. Just some 80 grit on that block sander like I was mentioning earlier. And you can see right there, it's pretty much exposed all the red paint on that side. And then on this side, we still have to go using a little vacuum to catch all the debris in the meanwhile. After we get it done being sanded with the 80 grit, we're gonna go up to a 400 grit, or probably do a 180 in between if it's too aggressive, the 80 to 400. But we wanna get that nice and smooth like the rest of the car, that way it can be painted good. Another thing that I did to prep the car was remove the roof trims, as well as the side windshield trims, and the trims right here for the window molding, I think that's called, the door. There's little trims that go all around, and these kind of places, they don't mask very well, and for those types of things, they normally just paint right over them, and it doesn't really look very good. But if you take these extra precautions it's a lot better. This is just a wing that I got off of eBay. It's a Mugen style, or Type S style, excuse me, for the RSX. Really basic, and it said that it was primer ready, so I don't think that we're gonna have to do much more than just scuff this up, maybe with like a Scotch-Brite, and have it have no gloss at all. That way it's ready to get the paint. But aside from that, we are working on the car. I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera down and continue sanding. And once the roof is done, for comparison, I'm gonna show you after I'm done, and then go from the 80 grit that's being sanded right now to a little bit of a finer grit to show you guys what it would look like before we actually get that ready for paint. I've been at the roof for like 20 minutes now, and I've got it almost back to the original color. The last thing that needed to be done was the trim over here, but this is under the trim that goes on the roof, so I don't think it'll be an issue. But I did get it scuffed up with some 400 sandpaper. As for the rest, I used the block sander to get it nice and even to a 400. And this should be almost done with the roof. I'm just gonna pop the sunroof real quick open and get like the little edges inside right here below that little gasket, and just make sure that like all the red is pretty much done. When we do get it painted, I think I'm gonna lift the sunroof open a little bit, mask off the little trim, whatever that's called right there, and let the paint get in that little seam as well. All right, like I said, sunroof is up, and I got most of this sanded right here to some 400 grit. You can see it's nice and clean, no more red around there. And that does pretty much conclude the roof. I'm gonna let it dry off real quick, then give it a nice quick wipe down with some, just a nice clean rag instead of this one. And make sure that there are still like no high spots or no low spots that I might need to go over with the block sander again. But all in all, it is looking pretty good. And I think the roof is done, and next is to tackle the rest of the trunk. Scuff up the wing like I mentioned earlier, which I think I'm actually going to remove to get under the trunk to scuff it up as well, because there's some hard to reach areas that you will still be able to see a little bit. But yeah, she's coming along, guys. We're pretty much done with the whole body sanding wise. I took the side skirts off just because they have a lot of the drip from the sanding and whatnot, as well as a little bit of plasti dip and paint, so it's going to be a little bit easier to get it all sanded off the car. As well as the wing, I wanted to get under right here and be able to get the curves nice and sanded down without having to do it around the wing. So it's coming out pretty good. I didn't get as much sanded on this side as I did on the other side, just because all I really wanted to do was scuff it up. When it came to the areas where I did body work, I did try a little harder to block it and get it nice and smooth, so it does come out nice after the paint is on there. But it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna bring it out right now in the driveway and just spray it off with the hose. Try to get all the little, you know, the dried up wet sand and everything like that. Try to get it all off the car. And in the meanwhile, I'll be able to clean the garage a little because it's really dirty down there. Ladies and gentlemen, we just skipped forward a couple days. I'm actually here in the garage. It's kind of late at night, but I wanted to show you guys some progress. The last thing you guys saw basically was how we had sanded the whole outside of the car. Like I said, it is a little bit late right now, so you can't see great. But the whole outside is pretty much scuffed up, ready to get painted. Both the mirrors have been ground down or sanded down to a nice smooth finish so that the paint will be able to adhere to it properly. And all the body work's done for the car. There are a few spots that sanding the car I realized needed to be filled a little bit. If I don't get to take the car to the body shop in the next couple days and have some extra time, I might actually get it done. But as of right now, it's very small stuff and I'm not really worried about it. As for the bumpers, if you guys remember when I first got the car, the front bumper was half painted, like with overspray, that was silver, as well as a whole bunch of black plasti dip, and there were a whole bunch of small nicks. And basically, the whole bumper looked like this. If it'll focus in, basically like gashed out and a lot of tears, mostly right up here. So what I did on a lot of spots right up here, I ended up using some body filler and then sanded it down, hit it with some high, like the filling and sandable primer, and then block sanded the whole thing, and it is looking pretty good right there. It's not perfect, but it's what I did here at home and I'm pretty proud of it. As for the rear bumper, we actually got it sanded down with a little power sander, which I have somewhere. I think I actually already put it up. But the power sander left little tiny swirls. It was on 80 grit. And then after that, I hit it with 150 and got it to a nice smoother finish. But you could still see micro sand little marks. So with some high build fillable primer, we actually primed the whole thing and then block sanded it as well. So right now, the camera won't do it justice, but the whole thing is really smooth. I just got done wet sanding it with some 400 grit. So everything is really good. There are a few spots like down here obviously from where the exhaust had burnt, that it's not perfect body wise, but it is a lot better than what it used to be. And for some reason there's a whole bunch of bugs being attracted to it right now, which I'll actually close up the garage in just a second. Actually, Khalid, what's good, my boy? I'm gonna stay 6 feet 6 feet away. What's going on, my boy?
Not much.
Oh man, what a surprise visit. Well, not surprise because we already talked about it, but I didn't think it was gonna be during the clip. I'm just going over here the body work that I did to the RSX. It's coming together, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this clip right now and say what's up to Khalid's. I'll be back in just a second, guys. That was pretty cool. Check up on your friends, guys. It's a tough time, you know, the quarantines and whatnot. We're not seeing a lot of people that are close to us. So I appreciate Khalid's coming by. If you're watching this, thanks, my boy. But yeah, the bumpers are pretty much good. Like I said, it was some sandable and fillable primer that I put on here. You can see a little bit of tiger stripes on there. I didn't really lay it down good, but it got the job done. It really filled up all the little scratches and the little imperfections that we needed to get filled. And right here, you can see I ran out right at the bottom of the bumper, but I made sure to take care of the top first. And this thing is feeling really smooth. Really like it. But yeah, the car is almost ready for paint. The last thing that I need to do is get the side skirts sanded down. And they're actually outside right now, because I got a bunch of stuff in the garage. It sucks trying to build 3 cars at once, but it's fun. All right, let's see. You have a little bit of light out here, but got the side skirts taken off. I know you guys can barely see. Side skirts taken off. They were red, if you guys remember, under the black Plasti Dip. And that needs to get sanded down and mounted back up before we take it to paint. And yeah, that's pretty much all we have left to do. But that does pretty much sum up the video for tonight. Thank you guys who actually stayed through and watched it. I know it's kind of a boring video. We didn't do a lot of the vlogging material that we do for the race cars typically, but this is kind of a tutorial on how to prep your car for a cheap paint job. And you guys are really gonna see the comparison of how this comes out to how a professionally painted engine bay, for example, is gonna come out. Which, like I said earlier, if you guys aren't already subscribed, make sure to check this out. We actually have some Tamco paint that's actually gonna be laid down in the next couple days, so it is gonna be really cool to see the contrast on that. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to hit the like button before you head out if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.